how's it going, everyone? It's been quite a while since I was able to do one of these little mini reviews, but at least I can finally say it's good to be back. For a while, I was a little unsure what to come back with, but then I decided to shed just a little light on what I think is a decent enough episode from Season 11. I chose Thomas and the Spaceship. When Thomas helps Percy back to the sheds, Percy believes he sees a spaceship on their way. As he helps to deliver the mail, Thomas is determined to locate Percy's spaceship. But after an unsuccessful search, he begins to run late and asks Gordon for help to deliver the mail by the morning. So first, let's talk about the story. I don't know if there's really too much to go on about with this particular story. I've heard quite a number of people say that this episode is pretty boring, and this leads it to become a little forgettable. Well, to be honest, I kind of agree. The story is not amazing to where something really significant happens. In other words, this is another one of those episodes that I would call kooky. Kooky as in, it's a little wacky to see an almost alien kind of story featured in something like Thomas. Because what do spaceships have to do with it? But then again, they have done crazier things in Thomas pertaining to kings, dinosaurs, pirates, machines even. So what is a spaceship topic thrown into the mix? They're all pretty much as whack as each other. At least, I can say, just because this may be a bland story, it's at least one of those stories that, even thoroughly analyzing, yes, it is a 3-strike formula, but it's also one of those that don't make you want to slam your head against the wall. Nothing as bad as, say, what you would find in the Nitrogen era, where it could literally make anyone cringe. As far as characters, there's also not a lot to say about them here. Gordon is being the pompous a-hole he's always been, teasing Thomas and Percy for thinking there really is a spaceship. Percy is just being his normal hit-era written self, with a childlike mind, and at first glance, thinks he sees a spaceship. He wouldn't stop and think, maybe I have seen those lights before. Could be a plane. No, it must be a spaceship. Typical Percy. Though, I think I'm kind of glad they used this character style for him, only in this era, because if this was a CGI story, they would have made him a total pussy. I can just sense it. And as far as I'm concerned with Thomas, he's not exactly out of character here either. He's just being the friend, trying to prove his friend right, getting another one-up on Gordon, only to be proven wrong. Sounds like a typical Thomas trait that we've seen multiple times already. So with the characters and story we have so far, we're not off to a great start. However, I do think what slightly picks this up are the visuals and music. Visual-wise, I really like the foggy atmosphere throughout Sodor. It kind of helps to make the story a little more entertaining as we watch Thomas puff around looking for Percy's spaceship. At first glance, you're not exactly sure what the lights are until you see what it is at the very end. But what slightly adds to the illusion is the low lighting and fog effects. And I know I've said this multiple times already, but I love the fact that this episode is shot entirely at night. And I'm a huge sucker for the night-themed Thomas episodes. And as far as the music goes, I will say this. Ed and Robert didn't really do a bad job with this one. Yes, you do hear some of the regular ditties we've already heard, but what I really appreciate from them is how every time Thomas comes across what he thought was Percy's spaceship, the soundtrack makes it sound a bit alien. If you don't know what I mean, take a listen to this.
Look, Thomas, there are flashing lights in the sky.
Thomas couldn't see any lights.
It must be a spaceship,
Peeped Percy. A spaceship, puffed Thomas. Are you sure? Sure as I'm a little green engine, whistled Percy. Then, suddenly, he saw them. These flashing lights were moving in the sky. That must be Percy's spaceship, whistled Thomas.
I'll even admit, it may not be one of their best pieces, but it was a really clever idea to incorporate that within the soundtrack. And for a goofy episode such as this, it works. I'll even give credit here to both Brandon and Angelus for their telling of the story. While I do think Brandon once again shows a slight bit more enthusiasm, Angelus is not exactly bad here either. So it really doesn't matter to me personally whose version I watch. And one last thing I will mention, just because I do have a soft spot for the visuals as well as the music, that doesn't in any way, shape, or form make this episode a great one. So let's just leave this as, I view this episode as a very high guilty pleasure. To conclude, Thomas and the Spaceship is not one of the best to come from the show. The story definitely is wacky and could have had some adjustments made to it, but what saves it slightly is how creative the visuals and music were to make it pass on as alien-like. They tried to make it believable as best as they could to their ability, which is at least one of the few positives I can give this episode. It may not stand above many of the other greats, but I'd say this is at least a tolerable one from season 11, give or take. The most I feel I can rank this episode is a 5.5 out of 10. Just about decently average. I've been Yamite, and I hope you all enjoyed this review. If you liked this, then feel free to like, comment, and subscribe for more of these and other Thomas-related content. Until then, I will see you all in the next video.